G'day folks. Welcome back to another episode of Euro Mining News with your host, John Franco. Now, this week we've had basically a bit of a mineral hot pot going. We started the week with nickel news, got into some gold hits and a bit of wheeling and dealing there. We've spoken about rare earth elements, and I thought, why not round out the week with a bit of zinc news just to finish the crock pot, make it a full, complete meal. So today we've got news out of ASX listed Ironbark Zinc, which may well need to be changing their name soon because they're doing a bit of diversifying away from their main project, which is just chock-a-block full of zinc. So basically, they've provided an update on its Citronen Fjord project, which sits way up in the north of Finland. So if I pull up where this map is, you can see here's Greenland, Iceland, Canada, all the bloody cold spots. Here's Citronen sitting right up in the north. So you can't get too much further north in this world, so which comes with a few logistical challenges. However, there's no denying those zinc grades. So basically, Ironbark's had a couple of tough years that have just gone past with their giant zinc project up in Greenland. Basically, they couldn't secure any funding to develop the project, and the company's basically now revising its partnership, who it's going to partner with for that debt funding, as well as looking at diversifying away from zinc a little bit to reduce its reliance basically on a single commodity. So they're looking at some gold, copper, and lithium projects within Western Australia as well to diversify. So let's get cracking and jump into the announcement from the 13th of March. So Ironbark Citronen Project update, basically a strategic update is what's happening here. So Ironbark's already sunk $80 million into this project, so they don't want to be walking away from this anytime soon, and hence they're trying to figure out a way to get this project off the ground, or at least increase a bit of investor sentiment towards it. They're talking about zinc prices are trending upwards again. That's debatable. That they have been over the last 2 months. However, when we look at this price chart, this is over a 1 year span. It is trending upwards. However, it's not making any massive changes there, especially when we pull it out to the 5 year. It's not looking super healthy. But we'll talk more about the macroeconomics around the zinc pricing a little bit later on. Basically, companies doing a portfolio-based strategy, so they're focusing on adding other critical and energy metal projects to their pipeline in 2024, with Australia being hot on the list of contenders. So Citronen really is a giant zinc project. They're not lying there, and it's got some good grades, so you cannot detract from this at all. Basically, Ironbark acquired it in 2007. They've done a bunch more drilling since then and pumped up the mineral resource and the mineral reserve considerably. So if we pull on down to, I'll show you this first. Basically, there's 85 million tonnes of mineral resource at 4.7% zinc with a 0.5% lead, just as a bit of a credit, a cherry on top of the zinc cake. Now, for anyone who's not familiar with zinc or valuing zinc deposits, generally my kind of rough idea of anything that's above 4% zinc, it's starting to become economic. 4.7% would be for any of the gold nerds out there would be similar to around 1.6 to 1.8 grams per tonne equivalent. So it's definitely economic. Once we're getting up into these high grade zones, so 17.7 million tonne at 7.6, now we're talking some real good grade. That's going to be making good money with a little bit of a lead credit as well. If we pull down to the appendix that they had from their feasibility study, you can see here in their mineral resource estimate, they haven't just hidden everything in the inferred category. A lot of it is in indicated and measured, which is fantastic. It means that the geological confidence in the ore body is in the mineralization is pretty bloody high. And on top of that, they've got a massive reserve in the proved and probable categories. So for anyone who's not aware of or doesn't quite understand how the resource and reserves are calculated, I'm going to go through that in a later video. However, basically your resource is what's been drilled and it's mineralization that's there, it's sitting there underground. Whereas your reserve is the portion of that resource that can be economically extracted. So basically they have to do a study to make a reserve, and they look at the mining costs, the trucking costs, all of that, and they decide what portion of that mineralization is ore, which can be economically extracted. So they got a massive amount in that category, basically. So they've also got this exploration upside, exploration target of 40 to 90 million at 5.7. Exploration targets don't mean a whole lot. They're basically saying what could be. So it's nothing's proven. But they've got exploration upside is basically what you can pull from that. 30-year mining exploitation license. That's huge. They only just signed this back in 2016. So they've still got plenty of years left on that license. And I think their mine life based off this resource and reserve is looking at upwards of 25 years. So they got the ore to play with, and they've got the license to do it. They just need someone to fund it. So on top of that, they basically had some forward production pre-committed, so binding offtake agreements. And these are with big players that aren't just going to step back. So we've got global majors Glencore and Trafigura, who have signed offtake agreements for this zinc once they can get it out of the ground. So that's great for de-risking the project and securing that revenue once they get it out of the ground. And they did that bankable feasibility study in 2021. So let's talk about what they did from 2020 to 2023, so the last kind of 3 years. Basically, they struck a letter of intent with US Exim Bank, a big player. Originally, they had 216 million in debt funding. Later on, they increased that to 657 million, and that was going to be sufficient to fund the entire project. So they were happy. They also got strategic project status from that same US Exim Bank. So that's another big tick, gives them extra credibility. However, despite their onerous technical due diligence and their site visits and all the other stuff that goes into it, Ironbark basically wasn't able to secure the necessary project equity, and they've elected to withdraw from its current Exim process. So they've lost that partner, unfortunately. They said they still have a good relationship, but yeah, they've lost the agreement. So they've put this down to a couple of things. Unfortunately, sustained downturn in the zinc price, which has been happening since 2022. It's been coming off quite substantially. As if we just jump into the zinc price here, you can see back in 2022 we're hitting highs of 4,300. Now we're sitting at 2,500. So it has come off considerably. So the zinc price was obviously a huge issue, and also just macro uncertainty. So that's macroeconomic uncertainty. What's happening in China? What's happening over in the rest of the world, basically. And we'll have a bit of a chat about the zinc price later on in this episode. So what is Greenland planning on doing about their issue, their predicament that they're in? Like I said, they've got that 30-year mining license from 2016, and they're currently having talks with the government, the Greenland government, about what type of timelines they can have to bring this project online and how they will handle the rehab obligations. So furthermore, as a de-risking, they're going to re-examine some various opportunities, looking at different partners, looking at different minerals, looking at different geographic locations to search for those minerals. Now, this is where they've just announced that they're doing some diversification. Bamboo Creek and Dalton's projects, they both sit in Western Australia. They announced these late last year, and it's basically the first new project for Ironbark in 15 years. So these guys have been solely zinc bulls for 15 years. So this is huge that they're diversifying away, and I think it's important, and I like to see it. You can't have all your eggs in one basket. So yeah, they're basically saying it's going to reduce their historic reliance on that single project, single commodity, which is, yeah, it makes a lot of sense. So that's basically what they've said with their update. Now I just wanted to have a bit of a chat on zinc prices. So and obviously Ironbark is super bullish on zinc prices, as you have to be if you are a zinc explorer / developer. You want to think that zinc's going up in price. However, as you saw before, that price is averaging reasonably flat, maybe a bit of an increase. If we pull up the chart again, drop it down to 1 year, noticed a bit of a drop off, but we're pulling ourselves back up out of that zinc deficit over the last 2 months. Now, what this is basically a factor of, this rise, which is the highest they've been in 2 months, is Sikapo, which is a smelter in South Korea. They've decided to cut their output by 20% just recently, and that's sent the price going back up a bit. Because they're one of the world's largest zinc producers, so when they decide to cut back like that, it sets off some alarm bells in the price. If things keep going that way with large producers and large smelters dropping their production outputs, then you end up potentially in a situation where there's a lot less zinc floating around in the market, and the price goes up due to that demand dynamic. Potentially could push you into a shortage, which increases the price even higher. However, at the moment, forecasts are showing approximately a 300,000 tonne surplus globally due to a few different factors. But the one I found most interesting was the London Metals Exchange, or the LME, based over there in England. They have started to stockpile zinc, basically, and they are at levels that we haven't seen in about 3 years. So just basically sitting in their warehouses. And this is creating some downwards pressure on the zinc price because everyone knows that zinc's available in the market and can be sold at any time. So it's that supply-demand dynamic. So it's interesting. Obviously, there's many more factors that play into this. China, what are they doing with their development and their economic kind of the uncertainty around that? US, what's going on there? This isn't a macroeconomic show, but just thought I'd provide my input there. So that's all for today, folks. Thanks for listening in. Hope you learnt something. As a disclaimer, this is not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. Please do your own research. It's literally just my personal opinion as a geologist on what's going on in the market. See you all next week, and thanks for tuning in.